You'll never find someone like me. That's not a statement. That's a final move. It doesn't come after clarity. It comes right before you're about to make a decision. That line works the second your mind goes, what if I never get this again? That's when your body tightens, your thoughts race, your clarity pauses. It's not about love. It's about rushing your choice. Because when you feel like something is rare, you stop evaluating it and you start protecting it. That's how control slips in. If you don't translate this moment fast, you don't choose, you freeze. And freezing is exactly what this tactic depends on. Our first guess always arrives early. They don't spiral, they don't guess, and they don't care how things feel. They scan risk, they calculate outcomes. They decide when movement matters. They run 3 modes: fight, flight, or freeze. And empaths? Oh, we almost always freeze. Tonight, we're learning how to spot that moment and choose movement instead. Welcome, fear. Fear. Did you hear what came out their mouth?
Yes, I did. Fear projected to inflict fear. Works every time.
Okay, when you heard, you'll never find someone like me, why did you show up immediately?
Right. Because I saw a door closing, especially when it's so challenging to open one up. I saw a shift from a choice to consequence. That sentence reframed the moment for the empaths. It turned an option into a risk. Not because it was true, but because it was believable. It's a slowdown question, especially when you're in anger. Fear is the only trump card for anger. Rock, paper, scissors. No. Fire, bitch.
Okay. So you didn't hear love, you heard a countdown.
Correct. I don't require certainty. I operate on probability. The moment someone thinks, what if I never get this again? That's when my job begins.
Okay, well, there's this myth that feelings are neutral. If that's so, why do you always show up in these moments, like right before we're about to make a decision? Confusing everybody.
Because something meaningful is at risk. Not the person, the experience. Are we really going to waste all that time for something this silly? Haven't we gone through this before? Connection created a reference point. Once that exists, loss becomes conceivable. I don't appear for strangers. I appear when attachment forms. That's not weakness, that's information.
But isn't that how people stay stuck? By treating intensity like evidence instead of data? Instead of information?
It can be. That's why I don't use commands. I present scenarios. Fight, flight, or freeze. That's fight, flight, or freeze. Empaths, they usually default to the freeze. Not because it's the safest, but because it postpones the loss. Fight, flight, leaving, it just feels reckless to an empath. Yet, flight is often the cleanest exit when clarity already exists. Isn't that crazy?
Okay, thank you. Well, here's the translation. Fear didn't just show up to trap you. Fear showed up to signal movement. But when you freeze, you mistake delay for safety. Fear was offering options, but you chose stillness. Anger makes decisions feel clear. Fear makes decisions feel impossible. But panic still carries information. You didn't freeze because they're right. You froze because loss feels close. And they understand that. Don't let fear stall you. Translate it, then move. Thank you, fear.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And you know what? I'll add one more to what you're saying.
Oh, sure.
Freezing is not such a bad thing. It's just for the moment. Decisions made in anger are no better than decisions made in fear. You might end up regretting both. I come to pause, to fight, or to flee. The pause or the freeze is helpful long enough for you to read their bluff. Staying in that mode is also their choice.
Well, okay. Thank you. That was a really good tip. So fear has a message of its own. And then there's the one who shows up right after fear does. She doesn't rush you. She reassures you. She smooths the edges and softens the warning. Keeps the door cracked just long enough. She sounds loving. She sounds mature. She sounds like growth. But she's not. Everyone welcome Hope.
That was so ungreedy. But I'm glad we're talking. And just for the record, I'm not controlling anyone here. My job with the empaths is about connection, about not throwing something away just because it got uncomfortable.
Interesting. Hope, what did you do after fear showed up?
Well, fear came in and slowed things down. So that's my moment to have a small heart-to-heart with them. We have the best conversations when they're in fear mode. I remind them of the good moments, the depth, the potential of their relationship. I said, maybe this is just a rough patch. Maybe they didn't mean it like that. Maybe walking away is a little premature. I keep things open and, they usually agree with me.
You didn't remove the fear. You just delayed it for later. You extended the lease.
Of course. Why rush a decision when love deserves patience? People regret impulsive exits more than the delayed ones.
Well, what happens if they leave anyway?
Well, then at least they know they tried everything they could. At least they won't carry that guilt. At least they won't wonder what if. I protect them from that regret. And regret is a real type of pain.
Or you protect them from their grief they're avoiding. Right now, you don't remove the fear. You don't remove anger. And you don't remove the problem. You just renew the show for another season. Because what? We all got another one in us, right?
Whoa. Hold up. You acting like I'm the problem. I keep people together.
I said what I said.
Without me, they would have gave up too fast. Oh, you thought clarity paid the bills. You really think people don't come crawling back to me after they tried to choose themselves? I give them time. Time keeps relationships breathing. And pain is just a part of that process. Think of me like this. I'm here to brush the sand off your shoulders during the sandstorm.
And there it is. Hope. You don't heal fear. You monetize delay. Hope turns clarity into obligation, turns discomfort into duty, and turns leaving into a moral failure. Hope doesn't ask, is the situation healthy? She asks, can you hold on a little longer?
That's my job.
Thank you, Hope. From here, you sound like a parked Ferrari. I mean, nice to have you, but where are we going?
Say what you want. People don't leave without me. They leave after me. Ignore me too fast, and they panic. Trust me too long, and they disappear from themselves. Don't matter which job I'm called in for, I always get paid.
Okay, well, let's break this down. Fear says, what if I never get this again? Hope says, then wait, don't decide yet. Together they create the illusion that standing still is the safest option. But stillness isn't neutral. Freeze keeps you available to someone else's control. Flight is not abandonment. Flight is an information acted on. You'll never find someone like me. Let's translate that one last time. That wasn't said from confidence. That was said from fear. Because confident people don't threaten absence. They don't rush your decision. They don't need to remind you what you'll lose. That line came from someone who was afraid to lose you. Afraid to lose your patience, your empathy, your emotional range, your willingness to understand what others refuse to be, your willingness to understand what others refuse to face. They weren't afraid you wouldn't find someone like them. They were afraid they'd never find someone like you again. Someone who could feel that deeply. Someone who could tolerate that much. Someone who could translate their chaos into care. No one is lining up to take what you took. No one is volunteering to carry what you carried. And they know that. That's why the line landed heavy. But listen to this carefully. If the price of being irreplaceable is self-abandonment, that's not love. That's leverage. So when they say you'll never find someone like me, I say, great. That's the point. I'm not looking for intensity without safety. I'm not looking for chemistry that costs my clarity. I'm not looking for connection that requires fear to survive. I'm looking for peace that doesn't need convincing, choice that doesn't need pressure, love that doesn't need panic when I stand up straight. I don't need to be rare to be valuable. And I don't need to be exhausted to be chosen. I don't need to stay small so someone else can feel secure. So no, I'm never going to find someone like you, because now I know better. And that line, it's funny and it's delicious because it tells me everything I needed to know. Read the room, empath. Don't just feel it. If this hit where it needed to hit, tap like so it reaches someone before they freeze. Subscribe if you're done confusing fear with fate. And if that line has ever been said to you, well, you already know why it had to be translated.